Keanu Reeves was enjoying a peaceful moment at a Burger King in New York City when a 5-year-old boy, clutching a broken toy car, approached him with a whispered secret that turned his lunch into a life-or-death mission. This heart-pounding rescue unfolds on Stories of Integrity. If you found this story compelling, please like, subscribe, and comment to support the change. It was a sunny afternoon in New York City. The sky was a flawless shade of blue, with only a few wisps of clouds drifting lazily by, while the sun's warmth reflected off the dazzling Broadway signs. Keanu Reeves, known for his simplicity and charisma, was driving his car toward a charity event supporting underprivileged children. He had spent several hours participating in activities, donating his time and energy to a cause he deeply believed in. After the event, feeling tired but wearing a calm smile, Keanu decided to do something unusual. Instead of heading straight home or choosing a sophisticated restaurant, he stopped at a Burger King on a busy street. He had always cherished these simple moments. They reminded him of his childhood, where he'd often escaped the pressures of his career for the comfort of familiar places. Inside the restaurant, the atmosphere was welcoming despite the usual hustle and bustle. Families were scattered across tables, children laughed while playing in the small playground, and the sound of orders being called out echoed in the air. The familiar aroma of fries and burgers filled the space, evoking a nostalgic feeling. Keanu entered discreetly, wearing a simple black t-shirt and sunglasses, emphasizing his casual and laid-back demeanor. He ordered a simple meal at the counter and found a seat in a quiet corner of the restaurant. With his phone turned off, he allowed himself to observe the surroundings. For him, this was a rare moment of disconnection from his hectic life. While he ate, something caught his attention. A child sitting at a nearby table couldn't stop looking at him. It was a boy with messy blonde hair wearing a slightly faded blue shirt. In his hands, he held a broken toy car, clutching it like a lifeline. The boy seemed hesitant, his eyes shining with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Keanu smiled subtly, finding the scene endearing, but soon returned to his meal. However, he noticed that the boy continued to watch him as if gathering the courage to do something. At the same table, sitting beside the boy, was a man. He was tall, well-dressed in a pristine suit, and maintained a rigid posture. The man, apparently engrossed in a phone call, had a serious and cold expression. With every movement the boy made, he cast disapproving glances as if the simple act of breathing out of rhythm was an inconvenience. Keanu couldn't help but notice the tension at that table. The contrast between the boy and the man was striking. While the boy appeared small and vulnerable, the man exuded authority and control. With each passing minute, the boy's restlessness grew until he finally did the unexpected. With timid steps, the boy climbed down from his chair, gripping his toy car tightly. His eyes didn't leave Keanu as he slowly walked in his direction. The restaurant seemed to grow quieter, as if the world around them had slowed down. Keanu noticed the boy's approach and set his burger down on the table, turning fully toward him. When the boy stopped beside his chair, his eyes were filled with something Keanu couldn't immediately identify, a mix of fear, determination, and hope. The boy leaned in, his small body trembling slightly. He opened his mouth and began to speak, but his voice was so low that Keanu had to lean closer to hear. What the boy whispered left the actor surprised, but the moment was interrupted before Keanu could react. The man at the table abruptly turned, noticing Liam's absence. His eyes locked onto Keanu, and something in his gaze sent a chill down the actor's spine. The man stood up slowly, adjusting his jacket as he walked toward them. Keanu maintained his calm demeanor, but something in his expression shifted. He knew that this seemingly random encounter would ultimately change his life in ways he couldn't yet predict. Keanu's instinct, honed from years of working with children's charities, told him this wasn't just curiosity, it was a silent plea for help. Keanu realized he was dealing with something much bigger than he had imagined. The restaurant was busier now, filled with the sound of voices and laughter echoing as families enjoyed their meals. Yet, for Keanu, all of this felt distant. He focused on the boy standing before him, trying to understand the reason behind his approach. Liam looked small and vulnerable, but there was something in his expression, a sense of urgency that Keanu couldn't ignore. Liam clutched the broken toy car tightly to his chest. He glanced briefly over his shoulder toward the table he had come from. Sitting there was the man Keanu now knew as Mr. Carter, watching them intently, phone still in hand. His gaze was cold and intimidating, and Liam quickly looked away as if afraid of what might happen. Keanu crouched down to the boy's level, speaking in the calmest voice he could manage. "Liam, it's okay. You can tell me what's going on." The boy hesitated, his free hand grabbing the hem of his faded blue shirt as his eyes darted around, making sure no one else was listening. Finally, in a voice so quiet it was almost a whisper, he replied, "I can't talk here. He'll get mad." Keanu took a deep breath. He could tell Liam was scared, but whatever was happening had to be serious for him to seek help from a stranger. Keanu nodded, trying to reassure him. "It's okay, Liam. You're safe now." Before Keanu could say more, Carter rose from his seat. He adjusted his suit jacket with deliberate movements and began walking toward them, his step steady. Though his expression was controlled, it betrayed a hint of irritation. Keanu stood up slowly, positioning himself between Liam and Carter as the man approached. Carter stopped a few steps away, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Sorry about this. Liam can be a bit overly curious at times. I hope he hasn't been bothering you." Keanu remained calm, his gaze fixed on Carter. Years of experience reading people had taught him to trust his instincts, and something about this man set off alarm bells. Without breaking eye contact, Keanu replied with a relaxed smile, "Actually, he was just showing me his toy car. It looks broken. He must really love it." Carter narrowed his eyes for a moment before forcing another polite response. "Ah, yes, he's quite attached to it." He then extended his hand toward Liam. "Come on, Liam, it's time for us to go." But Liam took a step back, slightly hiding behind Keanu. He didn't say a word, but the gesture was enough to chip away at Carter's patience. His smile faltered briefly, and he let out an irritated sigh. "Look, I appreciate you keeping him entertained, but we have somewhere to be." "Excuse us," Carter said, moving to grab Liam. Before he could reach the boy, Keanu gently placed a hand on Carter's shoulder, stopping him. "Commitments can wait. I think Liam needs a moment. He seemed eager to talk to me about his car. Maybe we can figure that out first." The waitress, who had been observing the growing tension, approached with a tray in her hands. "Is everything okay here?" she asked, casting a suspicious glance at Carter. Keanu smiled at her. "It's fine. Actually, could you bring Liam a drink? He looks like he could use something." The waitress nodded but gave Carter another wary look before walking away. As soon as she left, Keanu discreetly took out his phone and began typing a message to an emergency contact. His intuition, sharpened by years of advocacy work, screamed that this was no ordinary situation. Carter noticed the movement and stepped closer. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but this has gone far enough," he said, his tone growing firmer. He tried to maintain control, but his eyes betrayed growing impatience. Keanu smiled again, though his expression had become more serious. "I'm just trying to help a boy who seems like he needs someone to listen. I'm sure you can understand that." Liam, still clutching his broken car, finally spoke, his voice trembling. "I don't want to go. Please, can I stay here?" The boy's simple plea made Carter freeze for a moment. He looked at Keanu, his expression hardening before saying, "I suggest you don't meddle where you're not wanted." Keanu kept his composure but knew he was dealing with something far more complex than he had initially thought. Liam was clearly scared, and any wrong move could put him in danger. Keanu needed to tread carefully but also knew he couldn't leave Liam alone. Keanu pressed send on his phone. The message for help was already on its way. Carter stared directly at him, the two locked in a silent confrontation. Keanu knew time was running out. With the police on their way, Keanu felt a surge of urgency. They had to act quickly to ensure Alice's safety. The air in the restaurant felt heavier despite the usual background noise of voices and laughter. Keanu, standing between Liam and Carter, could feel the weight of the situation. The boy, small and vulnerable, clutched the broken toy car to his chest as if it were his shield against the world. His anxious eyes were locked on Keanu. Keanu crouched down again, trying to reassure him with a voice soft, almost a whisper. "You can tell me what's going on. I'm here to listen." Liam glanced around nervously, checking if Carter was still watching. The man, now seated back at the table, kept a fixed, threatening gaze on them, phone in hand as if he were waiting for something. Liam gripped the toy car tighter and finally stepped closer. The boy leaned slightly toward Keanu and murmured, "He did something bad to my mom. Can you help?" Keanu froze for a moment, the boy's low, trembling voice carrying something he recognized immediately, a cry for help. He knew this wasn't the time for unnecessary questions. The priority now was ensuring Liam's safety. Keanu looked directly into the boy's eyes. "It's okay, I'll help. I promise," he replied, his voice firm but reassuring. Liam nodded timidly, but the fear in his eyes didn't fade. He glanced back at Carter once more, as if dreading that he might already know what he had just said. Carter noticed the exchange between Keanu and Liam and stood up abruptly. He adjusted his suit jacket, walking toward them with slow, deliberate steps. His forced smile failed to hide the growing irritation in his demeanor. "Sorry to interrupt, but Liam and I were just leaving." "Thanks for keeping him entertained," Carter said, extending a hand to take Liam. Before he could touch the boy, Keanu stood and blocked his path. Although his posture remained relaxed, something in Keanu's expression made Carter hesitate. "He's still telling me about his toy car." "I think he wants a few more minutes," Keanu said, his voice calm yet firm. Carter narrowed his eyes, clearly irritated by the interference. "That's very kind of you, but he's with me. We have an appointment, so." Keanu didn't budge. He maintained his position, looking directly at Carter. "Kids need time to talk. I'm sure you understand that, right?" For a moment, Carter seemed to lose his patience, but he quickly regained his controlled expression. "Of course, but we don't have time to waste." He turned his attention to Liam, now hiding behind Keanu. "Let's go, Liam. It's time to leave." Before Carter could insist, the waitress appeared again, holding her notepad. She discreetly placed a folded piece of paper on the table where Keanu was seated, pretending it was a napkin. Keanu picked it up and read it quickly. "The police are on their way." Keanu felt a wave of relief but knew the danger was far from over. He looked at Liam and offered a small, reassuring smile, then turned back to Carter. "Why don't we all sit down for a moment? It seems like Liam just needs a little time to breathe." "Sometimes kids just want to be heard," Keanu said, keeping his tone steady. Carter gave a cold stare but reluctantly nodded. He returned to the table, though his eyes never left Keanu and Liam, muttering into his phone. He appeared more agitated with every passing moment. Keanu knew time was running out. He needed to protect Liam while also figuring out more about what was happening. Carter ended his phone call and stood again, adjusting his suit jacket. He shot a hard look at Keanu and Liam, his expression now darker and more threatening. "You have no idea what you're getting yourselves into," Carter muttered, starting to walk toward the door. Keanu knew the next decision would be crucial. The moment of truth was closing in fast. Carter walked toward the door with slow, calculated steps, each movement carefully measured. Keanu watched him intently, fully aware that any impulsive action could escalate the situation. Liam stayed close to Keanu, clutching his toy car to his chest, his eyes fixed on the floor. The silence between them was broken only by the muffled sound of conversations in the restaurant. Carter paused near the entrance and pretended to adjust his suit jacket, but Keanu noticed something in his movements. It wasn't casual. He seemed to be assessing his surroundings, perhaps planning his next move. Carter reached into the inner pocket of his jacket and pulled out a phone, quickly typing something before returning to the table. The waitress, who had remained vigilant, approached Keanu discreetly and whispered, "The police are on their way. They're just a few minutes out." Keanu nodded subtly, keeping his eyes on Carter. The man was now seated again, but his demeanor had shifted. He appeared more tense, frequently checking his phone. Keanu recognized this as a clear sign Carter was either worried about what was unfolding or trying to regain control of the situation before the police arrived. Carter exuded an air of dominance over his environment. His gestures were deliberate, and his words carefully chosen. When he noticed Keanu still observing him, he finally broke the silence. "You seem very interested in our conversation, Mr. Reeves." Keanu kept his expression neutral. Liam looked scared. "I'm just trying to understand why." Carter let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Kids have active imaginations. They make things up, exaggerate. You, of all people, must know that, right? In your line of work, you deal with stories all the time." He gestured toward Liam. "Maybe that's the case here." Keanu crossed his arms, remaining calm. "Maybe, but kids are also more honest than adults. They say what they feel, even if they don't always know how to express it." Carter leaned forward on the table, resting his elbows. "Then why don't we let Liam decide? Liam, do you want to leave now or do you want to stay here and keep talking with our friend?" Liam hesitated. He looked at Keanu, then at Carter, his trembling hand tightening its grip on the toy car as if drawing courage from it. Finally, he replied in a barely audible voice, "I want to stay here." Liam's words made Carter clench his fists for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. His smile looked even more forced now. "Very well, but I hope this doesn't take much longer." As Carter maintained his controlled demeanor, the waitress returned, this time with another note for Keanu. She placed a glass on the table and slid the paper underneath. Keanu discreetly picked it up and read, "They're 2 minutes away. Hold tight." Keanu knew he had to keep buying time. He turned to Liam, steering the conversation back into safer territory. "Liam, you mentioned your mom is hurt. Do you know where she is now?" Liam began to answer but stopped abruptly when Carter slammed his hand on the table just hard enough to draw attention. "That's enough questions, Reeves. This is none of your business." Keanu slowly turned to Carter. His voice remained calm, but there was an unmistakable weight in his words. "If she's hurt, then it's everyone's business, especially mine." Carter leaned forward again, locking eyes with Keanu. "I suggest you stop now. You don't know who you're dealing with." Keanu knew he was dealing with someone dangerous. He held Carter's gaze for a moment before slowly standing, signaling Liam to stay close by his side. "If you want to talk about this, we can do it civilly, or you can wait here until the police arrive." Keanu's words froze Carter for a moment. His expression hardened as he glanced around, realizing that the situation was slipping out of his control. Outside, 2 police cruisers pulled up to the restaurant's entrance. 2 officers stepped out and entered the establishment with purposeful strides. Carter spotted them immediately and stood up, adjusting his suit jacket as he glanced at Keanu. "You've made a big mistake," he muttered, taking a step toward the exit. Keanu, still standing protectively beside Liam, knew this was the moment to act. He had to make sure Carter didn't escape. The glass doors of the Burger King swung open as 2 uniformed police officers entered with purposeful strides. Their eyes scanned the room, quickly picking up on the tension at the table where Keanu, Liam, and Carter were seated. The waitress, visibly nervous, discreetly pointed in their direction with a subtle nod. Keanu remained calm, but he could feel Liam clutching his arm tightly, the boy's small body trembling. He knelt down quickly and whispered, "It's okay now. They're here to help." Carter, on the other hand, straightened up, adjusting his suit jacket with a controlled movement. His posture exuded a mix of arrogance and disdain. He glanced at the officers as though already preparing for a confrontation. The two officers, a tall man identified by his badge as Officer Dawson and a female officer named Parker, approached the table with serious expressions. Dawson spoke first. "We received a call about a potential issue here. Is everything okay?" Carter offered a rehearsed smile. "Everything is fine, officer. There must have been some misunderstanding. I'm just here with my son, enjoying the day." Before the officers could respond, Keanu intervened. He rose slowly, keeping Liam close by his side. "Officers, I think you should hear what the boy has to say." Dawson turned his attention to Liam, who looked down at the floor nervously. Parker crouched down to the boy's level and gave him a gentle smile. "Hi there, my name's Parker. Can you tell me your name?" Liam hesitated, glancing at Keanu for reassurance. Keanu nodded, giving his shoulder a light squeeze. Finally, Liam murmured, "Liam." "Liam," Parker repeated softly. "It's okay. Can you tell us what's going on? We're here to help." Liam's eyes darted from Parker to Carter, whose calm expression shifted into one of irritation. "Don't say anything, Liam." "We're leaving," Carter said, his voice now sharper. Dawson stepped in, blocking Carter's path. "I suggest you stay where you are, sir. We're not going anywhere until we understand what's happening here." The presence of the officers seemed to give Liam a little more courage. He finally raised his eyes and spoke, his voice soft but clear. "He hurt my mom, and he said no one can help us." The restaurant fell silent. Dawson and Parker exchanged glances as Keanu crouched beside Liam once again. "You did the right thing by telling us," Keanu said with an encouraging smile. Carter's patience snapped. "This is ridiculous. He's just a child. He's making things up." "My lawyer is going to love this," Carter said, attempting to push past the officers. Dawson placed a firm hand on Carter's chest, stopping him in his tracks. "Let's clear this up first, sir. Stay where you are." Parker turned back to Liam. "Liam, do you know where your mom is now? Is she at home?" Liam nodded, but his face showed deep concern. She can't get up. He said no one would believe me." Keanu gave Liam's shoulder another reassuring squeeze. "We believe you. It's okay now." Carter let out a forced, dry laugh. "This is absurd. You're really going to listen to a child over a responsible adult? I won't stand for this." Dawson remained calm. "Sir, it seems we have sufficient cause to investigate the situation. We'll need you to come with us." Carter took a step back, his eyes now filled with anger. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." He attempted to walk away, but Parker acted swiftly. With a firm movement, she grabbed Carter's arm while Dawson stepped in to assist, pinning him in place. "Are you resisting a police order?" Parker asked as she secured the handcuffs around his wrists. Keanu watched, standing protectively beside Liam, who now appeared slightly relieved but still visibly shaken. "He's lying," Carter muttered as the officers escorted him out of the restaurant. Keanu turned to Liam and asked gently, "Do you want to show me where your mom is? We can go there now with the police." Liam nodded slowly, clutching his broken toy car in one hand and Keanu's hand in the other. He whispered, "I just want her to be okay." Keanu felt a pang of emotion in his chest but knew this was the time to act. He turned to the officers, "Let's head to his house. There's still more to do." The restaurant had calmed down, but the tension lingered in the air. Customers watched in silence, some whispering among themselves as Carter was escorted out by the police. Inside, Keanu stayed close to Liam, ensuring the boy felt safe. Liam still clutched his broken toy car, his small hands trembling with the force of his grip. Keanu crouched down beside him again. "Liam, we're going to take care of this. The police are here, and they're going to help us. Do you want to tell me more about what happened with your mom? Liam looked up at Keanu, his eyes brimming with unshed tears, hesitated for a moment before speaking in a low voice. He yelled at her, and she fell to the floor. She said she'd be okay, but I know she wasn't. Keanu felt a lump in his throat. The boy's words were simple, but the weight they carried was heartbreaking. He knew they needed to act quickly. Standing, Keanu signaled to the officers, who returned inside after securing Carter in a patrol car. He's afraid to go home, Keanu told Officer Dawson. And he's worried about his mom. We need to get there as soon as possible. Dawson nodded, pulling out a small notepad to write down the address. Officer Parker knelt beside Liam, speaking to him directly with a gentle tone. Liam, can you take us to your house? We're going to make sure your mom is okay. Liam hesitated again, glancing at Keanu for reassurance. When Keanu nodded, Liam gave a small, timid nod. I can show you, but he always locks the door. I don't know how to get in. Keanu placed a comforting hand on Liam's shoulder. Don't worry, we'll figure it out. As the officers prepared to leave, Parker was informed by a restaurant employee that Carter had left a small backpack at his table, likely in his rush to leave. She brought the bag over to the table where Keanu and Liam were seated. Outside, Carter shouted from inside the patrol car, "You're making a mistake. You don't have any proof. I'm an innocent man." Dawson ignored the outburst as Parker helped Keanu and Liam into the police car. During the ride, Keanu tried to keep Liam calm, sharing small stories to distract him. Did you know toy cars are really easy to fix? I'm sure once all of this is over, we can figure out how to fix yours. For the first time, Liam gave a faint smile, though his eyes still seemed distant. Do you think my mom is going to be okay? He asked. Keanu looked at him and answered sincerely, we're going to do everything we can to make sure she is. As the car approached Liam's house, the atmosphere grew heavy with tension. The street was eerily quiet, and the windows of the house were dark. Parker noticed the front door was slightly ajar, prompting Dawson to hit the brakes immediately. Stay here, he ordered Keanu and Liam as he and Parker stepped out of the car, drawing their weapons. Keanu turned to Liam and said softly, stay with me. We're not going to let anything happen. Outside, the officers approached the house cautiously. The silence around them felt more threatening than any noise. When Dawson pushed the door open, what they found inside would change everything. Officers Dawson and Parker arrived at Liam's house accompanied by Keanu and the boy. The front door was ajar, and the interior revealed signs of chaos, overturned furniture, evidence of a struggle, and broken objects scattered across the floor. Proceeding with caution, Dawson and Parker discovered Alice, Liam's mother, unconscious on the living room floor with a small cut on her head. Despite her critical condition, Alice was alive, and paramedics were called immediately. As Alice was stabilized by the paramedics, Parker and Dawson reviewed the notebook found in Carter's backpack. They uncovered detailed notes revealing that Carter had been monitoring Alice and Liam, controlling their movements, and planning to abduct the boy and take him to another state. This discovery solidified the severity of Carter's crimes, including charges of abuse and attempted kidnapping. Outside, Carter, now handcuffed and seated in the back of the police car, watched the activity with a dark expression. He muttered threats as he was driven away by the officers, but Keanu remained focused on Liam and Alice. The boy clung to Keanu's hand, asking if he would stay with them. With a warm smile, Keanu promised to stand by Liam until everything was resolved. The hospital was bathed in the soft light of dawn, a promise of a fresh start. Alice lay in a quiet room connected to monitors and for her face, though pale, showed relief at finally being safe. Liam sat beside her, carefully holding her hand while Keanu stood nearby, ensuring they both felt comfortable. After tense hours, the doctor entered the room with good news. She's out of danger, he said. Her injuries weren't severe, and with rest, she'll make a full recovery. Liam let out a deep sigh of relief and glanced at Keanu with a shy smile, silently thanking him for being there. A few days later, Alice was discharged from the hospital. Though still emotionally shaken, she expressed immense gratitude for the help she had received. Before leaving, she turned to Keanu with tears in her eyes and said, "I don't know how to thank you. You saved our lives." Keanu, as humble as ever, responded with a warm smile, "I was just in the right place at the right time. The real hero here is Liam. He had the courage to ask for help." Liam, holding his now repaired toy car, gave a timid smile. Keanu had arranged for the toy to be fixed, a small reminder that even broken things could be restored after difficult times. Inspired by the experience, Keanu decided to do more. He reached out to a local organization in New York City that supported victims of domestic violence, offering financial assistance and visibility for their cause. He also stayed in touch with Alice and Liam, ensuring they received the support they needed to rebuild their lives. Months later, Keanu was invited to a ceremony organized by the police to honor Liam. The boy was awarded the title of Young Hero for his bravery in seeking help and saving his mother. During the event, Liam handed Keanu a drawing, a boy and a man holding hands with the words, "My hero," written in colorful letters. Keanu smiled and said, "You were the real hero, Liam. Asking for help takes more courage than anything else." This story of Keanu, Liam, and Alice resonated deeply within the New York City community, sparking conversations about vigilance, the courage to speak out, and the impact of community support in crises. It became a catalyst for local initiatives aimed at educating people on the signs of abuse and the importance of intervention. Schools began programs teaching children how to recognize danger and seek help safely. Community leaders and local celebrities, inspired by Keanu's actions, started campaigns to raise awareness about domestic violence, emphasizing that everyone has a role in safeguarding the vulnerable. This incident not only saved a family but also ignited a movement towards a more compassionate and proactive community, where acts of bravery, like those of Liam, are celebrated, and support systems are strengthened to prevent similar tragedies. Through this narrative, the message was clear: every individual's action, no matter how small, can lead to profound changes, fostering a society where safety and support are guaranteed for all.